everyone, and welcome to Module 7. And in this module I'm going to be talking about oral skills testing. And I'm just going to start with this short video. I don't want the video to be too long this week because I want you more to dive in and make an online oral test just to try out the software and see what you think of the capabilities of this on your end. So first I wanted to talk about oral skills testing. There is a more traditional way of testing speaking in foreign language programs, and most of you are probably familiar with this. It's called the ACTFL, the American Councils of Teachers of Foreign Languages, OPI. And there's the OPI, which is the face-to-face, let me keep this test. It's about $176, I think. Then there's also one that's delivered over the telephone, the OPI-T. Which is a bit cheaper, and there's cheaper still is the OPI-C, the OPI that's delivered via computer. And that one is something around $60 that you can take with ACTFL. They offer almost any foreign language, and they do have a website that you can take a look at to see about their ACTFL OPI testing program. Over 100 languages, proficiency testing in 18 languages, something like that. So it talks about the OPI in particular, and the OPI is often picked up. You can become a trained OPI rater and work for the company that they have, their sidekick company, Language Testing International, that runs all the ACTFL OPIs. So the OPI telephone is probably the most common way that these OPIs are given. And a lot of high schools and universities have adopted this process of oral assessment. Usually at the end of the semester or at the end of the academic year, the teacher will pull each person in their class into their office or into the hallway, or have them come to their office and give them a short oral proficiency assessment. So the general guidelines for the oral proficiency assessment, let me show you on the PowerPoint what it looks like. I've got a basic outline of it. So in general, they usually last anywhere from 15 minutes, well maybe only 5 or 10 minutes if it's a very low-level learner, but generally 15 to 25 minutes. And there's a warm-up where the interviewer asks the person some general questions to get a feel of the person's ability. You know, they start with, how are you? What did you do this morning? And questions, you know, just to get the person's ability. And then there are more serious questions that they use to assess various tenses. What did you do last weekend, to assess past tense? Can they do that? What will you do in the future, in the summer that's coming up? And they use these also to assess fluency, vocabulary use, and accuracy of grammar on the ACTFL scale from novice to superior, even distinguished. Then there's always this break in the middle where it's a scenario. They have different cards, situation cards, and they give that to the test taker. The test taker reads, it's in English or in the native language of the person, then describes the situation or topic, and then the test taker just gives a monologue describing the situation or answering the question. I remember when I took an official OPI face-to-face in Chinese, my situation was on the no-child or the one-child policy in China, what my views on that were, and what I thought about the one-child policy. Usually they're not supposed to be sticky situations, but I remember that one. I took that test in Washington, D.C., and I was just taken aback because it's somewhat of a very culturally laden, weighted question. But usually there's something easier than that, like pretend you're ordering food at a restaurant, or you want to borrow something. You know, it depends on the level that you're at as well. I was at advanced low in Chinese when I took the test. So I was able to answer the question, and I guess I did okay, but still I thought it was difficult. You can choose from the role plays. I remember when I was taking the test, they gave me 4 cards, and I was able to choose, you know, they pulled them randomly off the stack that they had at the advanced level. because beforehand they thought I was at the advanced level. So the cards are already laid out according to the level that they think you'll be at. So then after that, there's a level check or a probe. And at this point, the test giver assumes the test taker is at a certain level, and then the questions are targeted just above that level to see if he or she can respond. A probe to see if they can go any higher, just to check that they are actually at the level that the person thinks they're at. Then after that, they do a cool down, very easy questions to put the test taker at ease and to close the interview, a thank you and things like that. So that's the general outline, and this is the outline that high schools and colleges around the country tend to employ. So there are other ones. The ACTFL OPI is trademarked, but the Center for Applied Linguistics in Washington, D.C. has some others. There's a SOPI, which is a Simulated Oral Proficiency Interview, and now it's on a cassette tape. I think it's getting a little outmoded now, but when everyone had language labs in the 80s and 90s that were cassette tapes in the console in front of the student, those were very popular. And then they also have the DVD version, COPI, the Computerized Oral Proficiency Interview. And they also have a couple for children, the SOPA and the ALOPA, the Simulated Oral Proficiency Assessment and the English Learner Oral Proficiency Assessment for children, which is very much like the ACTFL OPI, but instead of a person, they have a puppet that talks to the child and asks questions, and they also, instead of a situation, they have food prompts or physical things that they put in front of the child and ask them to talk about them or role play with them. So the SOPA ALOPA is also face-to-face, those tests, and they're more for elementary age children. So I wanted to go on with some of the problems of this type of testing. So these are formal interviews. They're not something students usually practice or do during regular coursework. They're also very time-consuming. They're given normally one-on-one, or they're technology-heavy and where you have to take them to the computer lab. The speech is not interactive. And that's part also that there's no oral feedback or negotiation given, which is kind of against the role of the teacher, right? And usually in peer work, students will negotiate for meaning when they don't understand each other. But here the teacher can't restate what he or she was asking. And students spend most time talking with peers and groups in class, but this type of speaking test does not assess that. So there's a mismatch in the way that oral skills are tested and the way that oral skills are taught. So it is interesting that, at least we've brought oral testing into the classrooms in general across the United States by having OPIs at the end of the semester, but that doesn't really help. It's different from what we're doing in the classroom. So a lot of people say that language assessment should mirror the way language is taught and practiced in the classroom. So here's where we have a giant mismatch. If we use task-based syllabi and task-based group work in class, shouldn't we assess that way? Shouldn't we use group orals? So the reading that I have for you today is about group orals in the classroom. And I wanted to just show you some of those group orals that we have. Here's two of them. Maybe I'll show you one at a time so that you can see it better. But you can also look at these in the module. This is a group discussion task that I created for a placement test here at Michigan State University. And what happens is students sit in a group of 4 or 5, and the 4 or 5 students should be relatively at the same level of proficiency, or in your classroom you could randomly assign a group, or how you make the group assignment is up to you, and there's many reasons why you would do it one way or the other. But you have the group read the situation, the scenario, and then you as the teacher sit back and use a rubric to grade it. So I did also want to show you some of the rubrics. And take a look at these rubrics that I have. I have 3 different group oral tasks to show you. The desert island, the movie choice, and then the restaurant choice. And these are just 3 examples, But then there are different ways to score them. So this is one of the rubrics. It's a group oral holistic rubric where you put the name of the person down here. So you might have 1, 2, 3, 4 students in the group. And while they do the group oral, you can just check off, are they a 1? And this student is a 2. So Sandy, Joe, and Mike. So you would sit back with the clipboard and listen to them, and then choose the area that they have. Now this was for placement testing, so the scale is very big. You could change this type of rubric to focus on what you're trying to get the students to say. So are they able to discuss this task fulfillment wise? Are they doing everything that they're supposed to be doing? So that's a holistic rubric, but I've got 2 other examples for you. So this is an analytic one where you give the student their name and then you give them a fluency score, 1, 2, 3, 4, a pronunciation score, and vocabulary and content score, and communicative skills scores. For the rest of this module, what I'd like you to do is read the book chapter that I wrote. It's Winky 2013, and it's a paper about using group orals for placement testing. So I'm currently doing research on the rubrics used in group orals, and I'm also investigating group member dynamics and how that affects an individual's performance in a group oral. So take a look at the rubrics for the group orals. See the differences between these rubrics and decide which you like best. And these are group oral rubrics. So you'll see the differences between the analytic and holistic rubrics. And I'm experimenting right now with the grammar on the rubrics. So some of the rubrics have a grammar category and the other 2 rubrics do not. Because I am toying with the notion that grammar is just difficult to assess during oral proficiency assessment. So I'm just taking it off the rubrics and seeing what happens. And I'm actually very pleased. I don't think you need grammar as a separate category when looking at speech. So after you do that, read Winky and look at the materials more closely, then I want you to take a look at the online oral test that I or others created using clear RIA tools. So there are many templates, and for 5 points for this module, I want you to create an oral test like any one of these that I show you in the Word document. And you can click on the URLs and take a look at them. You can, for example, create a very simple oral assessment that's online with just an audio or video Dropbox and using mashups to embed the audio or video. Or you can create a simple one with conversations and mashups, or create a more complex one using embedded video and then an audio or video Dropbox or conversations. That's totally up to you. But what you need to do first is sign up for a free Clear RIA account. And here's the information, the URL where you can get it, and that's also in the next step. Then use the video tutorials and the how-to documents to create this online test of your own. So anything goes, from simple to complex. This is just for you to try it out. I'm your tech support for this assignment. Call me or email me if you have any questions or problems. So here's my cell phone number, 517-775-0156, because I am traveling this weekend to AAAL and to TESOL. So that's the American Association of Applied Linguistics, and then I'll be at the national TESOL conference. Both of these are in Portland. But I'll be on email and I'll have my cell phone with me. So do call me if you have any questions or problems. And when you're done with your Clear mashup with the embedded oral recorder, so you can use audio Dropbox, video Dropbox, or conversations, post the URL of the exercise of your mashup to the discussion board in this module. And the others in the class can see your post, so you can take a look at what other students are making. If you have direct questions or problems, do call or email me directly, because it's not the case that I'm going to go log in to Desire to Learn and check to see if you have any questions. I don't tend to work that way. So rather, if you have a question, just let me know directly. All right? So give it a try, and I'm curious to see what questions or problems you have, because this is the first time I've given this assignment to students who are not here at MSU. You're out there all over the place. So let me know what questions you have. Thanks, and good luck with all the work, and I think you'll find this fun and very practical for your classrooms.